back to Binford Chronicles. I'm really happy that you are joining me today. My guest today, again, is Lance Fisher with Blue Lie Audits. And I'm really excited about it because he is doing a lot of good work. I also want to remind you guys that every Friday at 7 p.m., visit us at the Board Report, and that's through IRC Media. That is a company that I'm also partners with John Karapi from To The Point Podcast, John Karapi from TGI Now, Mike Bollock from To The Point Podcast. And those are my partners. Also, Leo Maldonado, he's the co host on To The Point Podcast. So you can also go to ircmedia.net and see all of our other partner podcasts on that website. But anyway, for tonight, we're going to be talking about police stops, webcams, the cams that we get, and also we're going to learn a little bit about public records requests when we go in and what to expect and what they might tell you and how to handle yourself there. We're going to watch that tonight too. So stick around. We're going to have a short break and we'll be back with Lance Fisher.
Are you ready to stand up for your community and support your local sheriff? Join the Constitutional Sheriffs and Peace Officers Association and become a vital member of the Sheriff's Citizens Posse. At cspoa.org, we empower citizens like you through weekly webinars, arming you with the knowledge to back your constitutional county sheriff. Together, we can uphold our Constitution and ensure liberty and justice for all. Your community needs you now more than ever. Visit cspoa.org and join the Sheriff's Citizens Posse today. Make a difference. Stand for freedom. That's cspoa.org. Your country, your fight, your future.
Welcome back.
Hey guys, I love that just whole badge just boom. It's great. Yeah, I mean it's great. It's great. So we got some things to talk about tonight. Where'd you go?
I don't know. There I am.
Yeah. So we got some things to talk about tonight.
Yeah, I think so. Lots happened this last week.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about a sergeant that got interviewed. You have a piece in there and we'll visit that. And then we're going to talk about a young man who was taken down by the officers. And then we're going to learn about the experience at doing a public records request. And I learned something from that too. So that's going to be good to share with our viewers. So let's hit it with the sergeant.
Yeah, it's probably one
Back
of the
then,
weirdest things I've ever heard in law enforcement.
fuels some.
Yeah, it is. And I didn't get this gentleman's name. Do you remember who that is?
Yeah, he's Sergeant Valente. He actually retired from Palm Bay Police Department, I think it was February or March, after just following a critical incident because he, like I, got tired of the culture of the Palm Bay Police Department, failed leadership and failed accountability. So he realized that his heart wasn't in it anymore and it was time for him to step away.
Wow, that's really sad because, officers, when they get into it, it's because that's what they want to do. They want to serve and they want to be, help keep our society safe. It's pretty sad to hear that.
Mm-hmm.
So let's hear what this interview teaches us.
Rollins. I mean, that he looks at this and says, hey, it's a dog eat dog world out there. You better bring it or you're going to be subject to this.
Yeah, I don't, like I said, I've been doing this a long time, and he was someone I never ran across before in all my years of doing this.
Really?
Yes, like that. Really. I've never been scared of another cop when I was a cop.
Did this guy scare you?
He scared me.
Why?
I just didn't know what he was capable of. He put us all in bad situations sometimes with the antics that he pulled going in by himself. escalating things. And like I
Sergeant,
said, him and I had, as a supervisor, we had issues with some of the stuff he did. And how he came at me was like, holy cow. You're coming at me and I'm wearing this badge and I have 3 stripes on my arm.
That meant nothing to him, huh?
It actually did. And I was like, holy cow. Yeah. So it scared me. I was like, this guy.
Did people within the department realize the problems that you had with him?
It's funny, everyone in the department looked at policing different, I guess. They looked at it as good policing. He's making arrests. That's good policing. I disagreed with it. I was like, dude, he's breaking the law on some of this shit and policies, and there's case law and policies and procedures for a reason. And when we don't follow them, that's when we get in trouble.
Wow. That's incredible to hear. He's afraid of a fellow police officer putting him in a dangerous situation.
yeah, it's probably, I've been doing this, I think, for over 2 years. And what he said, Sergeant Valente said, was more powerful than anything I've ever said, because I've never heard that before. I've never heard a fellow police officer say that another officer scared them. And so I'll be honest, so this is Kevin Jeffries with Brevard News, who does a lot of stuff in Brevard County, calling out failed accountability and failed leadership throughout governments. And when I heard this interview, I immediately had a reaction. My blood pressure went up and I became furious.
Well, it even sounds like when they tried to talk with him one on one in situations that the other officer was getting aggressive towards him. Like, he was mentioning like I've got stripes, I'm a sergeant and you're an officer, and he's challenging him.
Yeah, Sergeant Valente had talked to me one on one, and he told me about some different interactions he'd had with Rollins, where Rollins absolutely confronted him and questioned his authority. And so here's my problem: is if a sergeant can't contain Rollins, what do you expect from a citizen? What do you think a citizen is going to get? Because they don't have that badge, they don't have the gun, and they don't have the authority as a supervisor over Rollins. So as a citizen, you are absolutely helpless.
Yeah, you're at his mercy, pretty much. There's a little more on that interview.
And it was brought up in a council meeting that he was this hero that killed that one guy that shot 2 of our cops.
Wow.
This is a young man with a family, and he's moving forward in protecting the lives of our citizens.
Do you know about that incident?
I do, and I as I sit here and watch this again, I feel myself biting my lips, because this council protected Rollins over the rest of the police department. Time and time again, I heard this council say, we support our officers, we support our police department, and they never did. They supported Rollins and a corrupt culture that protected him as well. And this is an incident. We had 2 officers that got shot, and 2 other officers, or 3 actually officers, engaged the suspect, and ultimately Rollins was the last person to engage him before he was killed. And I say this time and time again: you cannot be a hero one day out of the year and a villain for 364 and still be called a hero. And this is just our city council trying to justify the actions of Officer Rollins. Because Mayor Medina said Rollins had a family. So did every other victim that Rollins encountered. Tamara Hatcher, Daniel Hughes, Jateria Leitner, Dean Bienes, the countless others from Columbia, South Carolina. They all had families, but Rollins didn't care. And yet you want Rob Medina to make an excuse for this officer? Not acceptable.
Yeah, it makes me wonder why they didn't step up. That was an opportunity for them to step up and show that they have standards, show that the policies were broken and that they were going to do something about it. I mean, people don't hold that against a council or anybody that realizes something's wrong and they're going to fix it. It's when they don't fix it, because then we as citizens are nervous. We're like, we can't fight this if they're going to go against us. It costs us money to do it. And a lot of people, some of these people that I've seen on the videos being pulled over, they don't have a lot of money. They're not
No,
rich. They can't go to courts and hire expensive attorneys to fight this.
no, and that's what they count on. And time and time again, and not only did this council not even try to step up and ask for answers, they outright condoned it. They outright lied to the citizens. City Manager Morton literally said at the dais on January 8th that he'd looked at the hiring practices and that they were sound. He said trust but verify. Yet in that same hiring packet, it talked about Rollins's history at Columbia, South Carolina, his sustained IAs for physical and psychological abuse of persons and prisoners. It talked about how he knocked a handcuffed female unconscious in a jail van. And so not only did they condone it, I mean, they absolutely defended this. And I was told that City Manager Morton had told a city council member that the reason they took him off the road was to protect them from me, and that the reason they wouldn't fire him is because they didn't want Lance Fisher to be right. And that is crazy that they were so worried about one individual trying to stand up against police misconduct that they were willing to let him abuse the citizens of Palm Bay.
Wow. Wow. There's a little bit more to this, so let's listen so that the audience can get it.
What happens when you on the outside? So there was a lot of noise on the outside, particularly with the Tamara Hatcher situation with Rollins.
And we know.
No, I need a medic.
We will get you medical
No, I
attention.
don't trust you. No, I need a medic. I need a
Stop.
medic.
Get out of my face. Get out of my face, dude.
What are you doing?
Get fucking.
Wow. That is sad. It's like it's on video and this is happening and it's being played. Now I watched the whole video from start to I found it on YouTube and I watched the whole thing, and he should have he should have waited for a supervisor to come. There's like she was going through her excuses in the car, but she was never belligerent. She was never, he scared her because he started banging on her window and broke her window. And I think we have it here. We can watch a little bit of it and see if it picks up. But he just escalated it, and even his partner said they're on their way.
Yeah, he terrorized her. She'd asked for a supervisor. The other officer says twice that a supervisor's on the way. She's actually on the phone with 911. She is so scared. Remember, this was a flock hit. It's an unlawful traffic stop because she's not the owner of the vehicle. She doesn't match the owner of the vehicle. She shouldn't even, and she shouldn't be there. And she complied for 20 minutes and was told by Officer Feld that he was going to release her. And then Rollins stopped it all in the tracks because he wanted to tow the car because he believed he smelled marijuana. And that's what it comes down to. And she
I'm
was
glad
frightened.
you said that, because when I watched the video, I was wondering because he was talking about towing the car, and I was like, so if you don't have insurance in your car, they can tow the car and leave you stranded? Like, I
Not that,
wasn't getting that, and I couldn't hear some of the talking because the cars were loud and they were by the road when the guys were talking to each other. But I was curious about that, as I'm a regular citizen that just drives every day, and if somebody uses my car, if I don't have insurance, that person can get arrested or my car can get towed.
not by Palm Bay policy. And in every interview that Rollins interacts in, or every video that I've seen, that's the first thing he wants to do. When he stopped Jateria Leitner, she's in a apartment complex, safely parked, and there's somebody on scene to take her car. And he says, nope, she was driving. I'm towing her car, because he wants to search it. Dean Bienes in a Winn-Dixie parking lot wants to park his car, and he arrests him for a transporter tag, which that case was dropped within days because he wanted to search the car. So he makes up he trumps up these arrests simply so he can search vehicles. And he's violating policy, he's violating law, he's violating civil rights, and nobody told him he couldn't do this. And you just saw in that video where he strikes her in the face. And the Palm Bay Police Department says that never happened. Commander Ribnicki and the IA sergeant signed a piece of paper saying she was never grabbed by the throat, a thumb driven into her neck, and struck in the face. They said it never happened.
Wow. So let's see what else this video shows us here.
The female driver is requesting a supervisor. 113's on the way. All right, 113 should be here shortly.
And that's when she drives off, and I don't blame her.
What else
She
is she
was
supposed to
sitting
do?
in that car, and he busted her window.
Yeah, what else is she supposed to do? She's done everything. She's complied for 20 minutes. She's asked for a supervisor. And we've already seen Rollins on other videos grabbing people out of vehicles, tasing them, throwing them to the ground, just ripping people out of cars. So what is she supposed to do? And we know from the video we played last time, he pursues her to her house and ends up kicking in her front door. And Neil Valente mentioned, Sergeant Valente said in the beginning that Rollins put them in situations, bad officer situations. In that call, he literally kicks in her front door and goes into a house alone. He has no idea what's on the other side. And I'm telling you, if there had been somebody that had believed in the Second Amendment on the other side of that door, things could have
Blown him away.
seriously went south, not only for Rollins, but for the next officer that came in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So let's play some more of this.
That then fuels somebody like Sean Rollins. I mean, that he looks at this and says, hey, it's a dog-eat-dog world out there. You better bring it or you're going to be subject to this.
Yeah, I don't, like I said, I've been doing this a long time, and he was someone I never ran across before in all my years of doing this.
Really?
Yes, like that. Really. I've never been scared of another cop when I was a cop.
Did this guy scare you?
He scared me.
Why?
I just didn't know what he was capable of. He put us all in bad situations sometimes with the antics that he pulled, going in by himself, escalating things. And like I said, him and I had, as a supervisor, we had issues with some of the stuff he did.
So I just wanted to replay that so people can remember that he put them in some dangerous positions. I mean, even that video where we saw him, let me go here. We saw him with is it Thatcher? Breaking her window,
Yeah,
and his
Tamara Hatcher.
partner, Tamara Hatcher, and his partner is telling him they're on the way, and he could care less. He had it in his head that he was going to bust her window, and that's what he did.
He doesn't care. He doesn't care about sergeants, and he doesn't care about the other officers, and he absolutely does not care about citizens. He doesn't care.
No, and I think the most alarming one was the one that you sent me today of the young boy that they chased down and took him to the ground. Let's go there.
Sickening. Absolutely sickening.
So this is him. Let's get it started.
I said it! Why are you calling up?
Where? Yeah, he's running eastbound through the complex. Hey, get in the car, Thomas, and go through the park force. Armani, please! Going northbound across the street, Lake Washington.
Looks like he has his taser out.
For a missing child.
Is that what that yellow thing is?
That's his taser.
Hey, white shirt, white shirt, white shirt! Stop, stop! Runaway juvenile. Get him detained.
Get on the ground. Get on the fucking ground.
Get on the ground, bro. Flip over, bro.
I know his mom. I'm sorry. I know his
Ouch,
mom.
right there.
I know his mom. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Mom.
Yeah, we're gonna break you if you don't fucking stop resisting.
Oh, fuck.
I got it. Grab home.
Fuck, it's back there. It's there. Oh, fuck. Fuck.
Okay. Stop.
Hang tight.
Relax.
I think I heard him say, like, when they were running up to him, he knows some kid. It sounded like he was saying, I know him. Am I wrong?
No, so Judah, this child right here, 7 minutes before this was talking to Officer Markle, who is the one at the top of the screen. He is literally having a conversation with him, telling him about the missing kid and where he thinks he's at. These officers had already seen this juvenile. They know who he is, and they still chase him. He's kneeling. He's in a compliant position. So they're screaming Armani. He believes that they're chasing Armani. And then when they say white shirt, he's like, oh shit, they're talking about me. And then he stops and kneels. And this is what happens. Every time I see his arm being broken, I cringe. And the fact that the officer says, I'm going to break your arm, to me, that's criminal intent. These officers should have already been placed on administrative leave, and this should already be submitted to the state attorney's office for criminal charges. This is absolutely sickening, and I received phone calls today that are more disturbing.
Yeah, because he was screaming, and they kept taking him down.
What's going on with your arm?
Give us your other arm.
Hold on. Let me get another cup. Hold on.
Look at my arm.
Where?
Relax. Stop. Lay on your chest. Just lay on your chest.
Can I explain?
No, you can't. Lay on your chest.
I was just walking.
You saw us running.
I know Armani. I can explain. I know his mom. I know his mom.
You know whose mom?
Armani's
Is that
mom.
female?
I was just in the car with her. I was one of the car with her. You were there.
What?
I was in.
I don't know.
Are you Armani?
No.
You're not Armani?
No. I don't know what's going on. I was in the car. I was in the car.
Why are you running from us?
I'm not
Go to that
running.
guy. You said there was
I
somebody
was
else.
crossing the street.
What's your name?
Judah, Armani ran. I saw Armani run. I know his mom. I know Armani's mom.
Standby. We might have one on standby.
I know Armani's mom. I was.
That was just such a bad decision on these guys' part. They took him down so hard. I mean, just the way he grabbed his arm. Don't they have a way to learn how to take people down without breaking their bones?
Well, they do, but again, this is a missing juvenile call. This isn't an armed robbery. It's not a homicide. This is a missing child. Can you imagine, Joanne, if you called the police to try to locate your missing child, and this is how the incident ends up, that they're chasing your child with a taser because he's missing, and then to find out this isn't even the right kid. The kid they described later on, he looks like a football player. This kid clearly looks like a basketball player. They were told black shirt. He's clearly in a white shirt. There is so much wrong with this that when you watch all the body camera footage, and it took me about 3 hours, they had no idea who they were chasing. They will later on say, well, we didn't even have a description. Well, then who the hell are you chasing?
Right.
Just the
Why are they
first kid you
chasing
see?
anybody? And with a taser at hand.
That's the other thing is in their mind, they had already made a decision that they were going to tase this child. That to me, and when you have 3 officers doing this, that's not an officer issue. That's a culture. This chief, and I've worked a long time with Dave Gillespie from Melbourne, he needs to be fired because this is a culture. They had no idea who they were chasing. There was no rhyme or reason. I mean, you got cop cars with lights on flying across incoming traffic. You've got guys that literally were just out with this kid. He even says, you just talked to me. And yet, and Markle, I think it's Markle's like, are you Armani? Armani is like, you just talked to me. You know I'm not Armani.
Did.
And then the other 2 officers couldn't get out of there fast enough. They both bolted and left that one dude by himself because they knew they screwed up and they wanted nothing to do with this.
Wow, that's just so sad, And he was a nice. It seemed like a nice boy, He wasn't like "F you" and look at you, He was trying to talk with them and get their attention.
And
while
he,
his arm is killing him. He's like, did he end up with a broken arm?
the mom says he had a broken arm, and the officer says, "I'm going to break it." And it sounds like he did
Intent?
exactly what he said.
Mhm. And then I have the clip where the soundbite where you filmed the mom trying to get a public records request. And this I found very interesting. And I hope that everybody else does too, because I kind of learned a little bit from public records requests. So let's go there. I love your dad.
Me too.
I just want to show it's interesting. They're recording, so I'm recording. Not too bad. Not too bad. Looks beautiful.
I'm here to get some body cam footage. You have to come back Monday.
Right after the judge files for 17 days.
See, they're telling her to come back Monday already. And I'm like, that should be open every day of the week. There should be no comeback Monday.
It is. And so this video is, I started doing Make 'em Accountable Mondays, where I started filing complaints on videos that I saw, because I found out that police departments won't hold their officers accountable. So if I file a formal complaint, which I encourage any citizen to do, you must file a formal complaint, because then they're obligated to give you some kind of a feedback. But you're right. So Florida State Statute 119 says that any government employee has to accept a public records. You could walk up to the janitor and say, "Hey, I want to do a public records request." And he's obligated to take that request. He's not obligated to fill it, but this gentleman is absolutely obligated to take that request. I don't care if it's midnight and there's no records person around for a year. He has to take that request and submit it to the right person.
Yeah, and in the video you make sure that she knows that. And
So
so we'll listen to
there's
this a
my
little bit.
request, and there's them saying I need to come in and pay for it.
Okay, and give me today. Let me go there and see
Okay.
what they can do for you, because I think you should pay for it, and I could be wrong here, but I have to go.
Yeah.
See if you pay for it when you pick it up, or if you have to pay for it before they do it. That I don't know.
Okay.
You're probably already arrested.
Well, thank you for checking. Thank you, Officer Pell. Thank you.
Yeah.
Why is there anybody at the front desk that doesn't know what's going on? Like, anybody that sits up there should know the answers to all of these things. That you shouldn't get an answer that says, "Well, I don't know this, I don't know that." Just have a cheat sheet that tells you the answers.
Well, the problem is that if they don't comply, they're committing a misdemeanor. So I've talked about training and accountability. So when you don't properly train your employees, they potentially are committing crimes, and that would have been the case had that other officer later on not step in and tell him to fulfill the request or just take the request. That gentleman would have actually have committed a misdemeanor. So when we don't properly train our folks, that's exactly what can happen.
Yep, and we're watching it live happen now.
Yeah.
So here she goes, she walks
You want to take
away.
your pen?
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey, Officer Ferguson.
Hi, how are you?
Hanging in there. How are you today?
Yes, sir. How you doing?
Now
I'm
this
going to
is you
submit two
stepping
public
up.
records requests today
Okay.
I- for body camera footage in reference to two incidents.
Okay, you have to do that tomorrow.
But I'm just submitting those. I can
can't take those.
absolutely you can, sir. Any
I can't, it has, the records is the one that accepts the record.
sir, I don't want to be argumentative. I'm a retired deputy chief from Palmer Police Department.
Okay.
Anybody, I can literally ask you right to your face for a public records request, and Florida State Statute 119 says you absolutely have to take them. I'm not asking you
Is
to.
that true, Bob? Is that true? Okay.
Yeah.
Here, let me have it.
Okay, well, let me just explain them so make sure that we got the right ones.
Incredible. He had to ask someone else if that was correct.
Yeah, and how many citizens don't know that? And I'll be honest, I didn't know a lot about public records as a police officer, but I've sure learned a lot about them since, because I submit them quite regularly. And more times than not, these employees do not know how to fulfill them. I've had to educate the very records department in Palm Bay. I made a simple request and they wouldn't fulfill it. And I said, "I'm in person. You must fill it. You cannot have an unlawful undo, or you cannot delay a public records request. It's against the law. And so that's what I hate to throw it out. I'm a retired deputy chief, but I don't want you to get arrested by your very department. And so, yeah, but if you're just a citizen, you probably have no idea. You would have walked away and come back the next day or never come back. They use these tactics. These government agencies use these tactics all the time, hoping that you'll never come back.
Yeah, if I can't imagine how many regular citizens have walked away when they've told them that.
Or you'll see like Titusville, there's a mother, her son was shot by the Titusville Police Department. She's looking for answers, and it took, I think, almost a year to get her public records request filed, and they finally released them, but they charged her like $2,500 to
For
release
what?
public records. They just some ridiculous amount. I think it was $80 an hour, legal fees and all kinds of stuff that they tacked onto her request.
It's
And
ridiculous.
it's all about trying to basically so people will just walk away, that they'll get
And
fed up with the system.
is that legal? I mean, can they charge that much? That's insane.
It's illegal until somebody contests it and takes them to court. But then again, now you're doing legal fees, attorney fees, and other things.
Exactly.
And then they just harass them and intimidate them. And most citizens just walk away.
Yeah, who can afford that?
Absolutely.
So what she is asking, oh,
So
sorry.
if you weren't
So what she is
there,
asking is if you can also duplicate
they
this
wouldn't have
request
taken
for
good
her,
care of her.
because it's her son that's involved. He's a juvenile. So mine, I know, has to be redacted by Florida state statute. She does not want hers redacted. So I don't know if she has to fill out something different for that, but that's for that case number as well. Now this has my contact information for Thin Blue Lie Audits.
Okay.
I don't know if you still have hers or if you're going to need hers as well, but that would be that public records request.
Okay.
You're basically helping her out. And now they finally met with her.
Did you already talk to them about?
And see, a regular citizen, she might have walked away when they said, you got to come back. You can't do that
She would have
today.
walked away. She absolutely would have walked away. I couldn't tell you how many citizens that day were turned away.
And now they're finally talking with her and helping her, and she even got to pay her bill. They brought somebody out to have her bill paid. That's absolutely, I learned so much just from this video. You know, and I even looked up that statute 119. I was like, "Oh my goodness."
Yeah.
You know, you have to walk in and read the statutes to them so that you can get the right service. That's ridiculous.
Well, I've even seen it, with our city council members, because, when elected officials, when they post on their social media, even on their personal social media, but they talk about official business like widening Malabar Road, or when they talk about former employees that are butthurt because they got themselves fired. So when they talk about they're trying to pass information on to their voters, their constituents. When they talk about that stuff, even on their personal social media, that is public record, and they're required to archive that. And I did a public records request to my city council, and none of them responded. And that's a criminal act. It's a violation of Florida state statute. You are required, if you're going to discuss official business on your social media, you're required to archive that and submit to any public records request. And so when you fail to do that, you're actually committing a misdemeanor. And so it's important, if you're involved in government, that you have to understand the statutes. You have to understand Florida State Statute 119. It's Florida's sunshine laws. They're in place to protect the citizens from the government. And that's why government agencies do everything they can not to fulfill them.
That's so sad. And
Mm-hmm.
when people are doing public records requests, I mean, there's a lot of people that don't know how that works. Do you have to be specific when you're requesting the public records requests? How specific do you have to be?
Yeah, you as specific as you can, because they'll do everything they can to try to dance around it. And so that's why one, I record them by video, because I went in one time when I had when I was getting pushback from Palm Bay. I was like, I'll never walk in here again without a camera, because I will document it every single time, because I want to prove what I've asked for, and now I do them in email. And you can even do them anonymously. You don't even have to put your name on them. And I'll tell you how bad government hates public records. Remember, City Manager Morton of Palm Bay, the top manager, I won't say the word leader, said in a public meeting that I had created intense fear by doing my public records request. I'd cost the city $75,000 to $100,000 in public records requests and intense fear, reduced morale, and something else. And he even said, for what purpose? And I'm thinking to myself, you don't know the purpose of public records? You have such disdain for transparency and accountability, and you yourself have no idea what public records are for? It's for people like me and other citizens to hold you, Mr. Morton, accountable. And that's just the problem. When your top manager doesn't understand what a public records request is about, that's a problem.
Mm. Yeah. So, and does everybody have a different fee, or is there like a basic fee, like per page or per email?
Yeah, Florida State statute kind of outlines exactly that, the fee schedule. And what it basically says, and I'm not an expert, but it basically says that they have to charge the lowest fee possible for somebody to fulfill that request. So if there's Palm Bay Police Department charges me $15 for body camera, and I'm assuming that's the salary of a base person that can fill that request. So even if somebody like a deputy chief fills it, they can only charge the minimum salary possible.
Okay. So that is, have you done like, I guess the FOIA request, is that for like paper documentation, not
Oh, I've done it
video
all.
camera? What's the
FOIA.
difference between that and body cam?
So yeah, I've done it all. Usually I'll ask for body camera, which it has to be redacted. So there's usually a fee for that. But then I'll ask for like records. I ask for everything. If I ask for a report, I want the arrest report, any discipline associated with that, the officer's hire date. I want to know how long they've been there, how many times have they used force. I ask for it all because I want the full picture. When I look at any incident, I want to know, because I know as a deputy chief, with the Derek Mitchell case in the Thomas Farley, when he tased Thomas Farley off of that fence line and broke his neck, and later Mr. Farley passes away, I knew from my experience as a deputy chief that Derek Mitchell had had previous discipline, that he'd already used excessive force with a taser, and we didn't properly discipline him. We didn't terminate him. And so now when I look at these incidents, I want to find out, did the agency fail the citizens by not properly documenting or holding these officers accountable before? So I ask for it all. 911 tapes, discipline. I look for everything.
So where's the department with this Rollins officer? Is he still working?
No, he resigned. So he went off. He went off to the military. He spent 31 days in the Army. They thanked him for his service and said, "We no longer need you." Rollins had sent an email saying, "Hey, I'm coming back to the police department," because they were forced to hold his job for 5 years because he worked for a government agency, and state law says they have to hold your job. So Palm Bay felt like they were done with Rollins, that they wouldn't see him for 5 years and he would never come back. So when he came back within 31 days, there was an oh shit factor. And so I'm told that when Rollins came back to take his job, that the chief told him, your services are no longer needed. But they allowed Officer Rollins to resign because, again, they didn't want to say that Lance Fisher was right. And had they have separated him off of probation, like I had been telling them since July of 2025, they would have said that Lance Fisher was right. So they allowed him to resign, and Rollins is no longer with Palm Bay. My hopes that by filing these complaints on him is that his paper trail will be so big between Columbia, South Carolina, Mascot, Florida, and now Palm Bay, that hopefully somebody will do a simple Google search and never hire him in law enforcement again.
Yeah, I figured law enforcement did that already with all of the flock and media and technology. I would figure that they would do that when they're looking to hire somebody.
You would think that they would do that. Kimberly Waters, who hired Rollins not once but twice, could have done a simple Google search,
Mhm.
Sean Rollins, Columbia, South Carolina.
So what is it with, leadership? I'm listening to all this and I'm thinking, but it's leadership. They were also officers before, so they obviously were good officers if they ended up in leadership, or am I wrong? You just have to know people to get into leadership, or what happens in that transition?
What happens is throughout your career, you form alliances. It's just like Survivor. You join alliances, and what you do is you pull each other up that chain. And so there's a loyalty that's built from the very beginning. It could be with somebody that you went to the academy with. And so you two will forever protect each other, and you will forever try to pull you up the chain. It doesn't matter if you're a good or a bad cop. It's about who gets promoted and who they bring with them. And that's when I talk about, when I talk about a culture, that's what I'm talking about. If you're two bad cops on the road and you guys get promoted together and you help each other move up that chain, you're going to be two bad leaders. And that's what I talk about at the Palm Bay, at the city of Palm Bay. And Palm Bay is defined by a SWAT culture. This SWAT mentality inside of Palm Bay is an inner circle that protect each other, and it starts at the top and goes all the way down to the bottom. And remember, I was never a SWAT officer. I would have been, had I have stayed on the path, had I have not filed whistleblower complaints and not been locked out of the building, I would have been the first non-SWAT chief since Berger, who came from outside of the agency. And they were not going to allow that to happen.
Wow. So it's really not about who does the best job or who does a good job. It's about, hey, let's help each other get to the top.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
if you help me, I'm going to help you. That's terrible. I
I
mean,
call it,
it's nice to know that you have loyalty, but at the same time, you need to be, have integrity as well. Look, I'll have loyalty with my friends, but if they really suck at something, I'm going to tell them out of love and say, "Hey, man, you need to fix that, or you're not good at that, or you can get better at it." But I'm not going to help you rise just because we're friends and you're going to watch my back. I'm going to help you rise because I think you're going to be a good leader in that position.
and part of my complaints that I filed were that Chief Agello and command staff, we were promoting people based on loyalty and not merit. We were passing over great cops, but they weren't in that inner circle. And if Chief Agello didn't trust you, then he wasn't going to promote you. He wasn't going to put you in a position to question him. And when he realized that I was in a position that I was questioning him, he no longer needed me. But we had officers, and Sergeant Valente was a sergeant because once he got promoted from there and he became outspoken, he was done. And there's officers that left the agency knowing that they would never get promoted because they just wouldn't keep their mouth shut, or they wouldn't be loyal, and they would do their job. And if there was criticism that they saw, they would say it. If there was change that needed to be made, they would speak it. And that wasn't the way that the Palm Bay culture allows. They don't allow you to speak out against other officers, and it's unfortunate.
It's a control thing. It's hey, I'm on top and you have to respect me and do what I want you to do, and that shows me your loyalty, whether it's right or wrong, or fair or just. I kind of can understand that now. We have that issue. Not It's not just in Palm Bay. We have it here in Indian River County. In
Absolutely.
our own sheriff's department, Mike Dilks talks about it, and we have it in our own police department.
It's interesting because I've had a couple of Indian River sheriff deputies reach out to me now, and some other citizens that are struggling with that culture within their own sheriff's department, and that's
Uh-huh.
a struggle. And when you can't speak out, you try to use people like me, and I'm happy to do that. And I know firsthand. And if you're a Palm Bay officer, you think you're going to speak out, go watch your city council meetings, and you watch Lance Fisher get berated. You watch Deputy Mayor Jaffe get berated when he asked, "Hey, can we look at the hiring practices and the complaints against Sean Rollins?" And you watch the other council turn on him and call him a coward. And if you're an officer, you know that you're not going to get any help when your mayor sits there and openly bashes me, when your city manager spends 7 to 8 minutes threatening to have me arrested, saying I'm the problem, and that Rollins is an exceptional employee. You're an officer, you're not going to say anything. And so you're right. In Vero Beach, Indian River County, these agencies that the top leaders will openly just try to discredit whistleblowers instead of actually listening to the truth, the agency is doomed and the citizens are doomed. If you're a citizen of Melbourne Police Department, now is the time to stand up and ask for accountability. This is a child that we saw get his arm broke. That could have
Hmm.
been that could have been anybody's child. There's a public shopping center right near there. There's a Wawa. There's all kinds of things that your child could have been just running across the street, trying not to get hit by a car. And why were you running? Because I was crossing a street and there were cars coming.
And it was a big street. We saw that.
Had I have stopped for your commands, I could have been killed. That should be a parent's worst nightmare, that your son or your daughter goes missing and you have to call the Melbourne Police Department to try to find them. I would rather knock door to door and get a posse of citizens than call Chief Gillespie's goons.
Well, what's alarming is the way, when you say that they were called to find a missing child, you know, they were acting like they were chasing a criminal.
Yeah.
One's got a taser in his hand. They took down the kid. They were just saying, it was I thought they were looking for somebody that broke into somebody's home or something like that. The way they were running so aggressively, like it's a missing child. It's
I
the
mean,
mom's looking for her kid.
like I said, get the F on the ground, lay down, get on the ground, get on the ground. That's what we hear in robberies. That's what we hear in homicide suspects.
Mhm.
If somebody flees from a car, that's what we hear. We should never hear those commands when we're looking for a missing child. Remember, when we talk about mindsets of citizens, you think a 15-year-old has trained for this moment to have a police car screeching up on them and then three officers chasing down? They got this yellow thing pointed at him. There's a laser on it. They don't know what's a gun and what's not.
It's
And
crazy.
and you're talking about a child's mind. They have no idea what's going on. And all they do is watch movies like Training Day and they see videos of officers just beating the crap out of their citizens. And this is a black child too. So they have no idea what culture has he grown up with. And
Mhm.
the scariest part about all of this is the mom's husband used to be a deputy in Colorado. She told me they're a thin blue line family. They support law enforcement. How hard is it going to be for Judah, this child now, to support law enforcement or even this family moving forward that just watched their son's arm get broke? How are they going
Mhm.
to support law enforcement anymore?
Yeah, he got so roughed up, and I was amazed. I have to say, Judah really held his composure, and his mom raised him right because any other kid, if any other kid, I wouldn't be surprised they'd be cussing and yelling and telling you, kind of like Tamara Thatcher. She started to get upset and was screaming and like, "I don't trust you," all that stuff. She got loud, and he didn't do any of that. He stayed calm. And he still tried to talk to them. Look, I'm not that person. You were just talking to me. It just he was a well-raised young man, and I gotta give it to him. He held himself well, and I'm so sad for his mom. Nobody wants to know that their child got hurt by law enforcement when you're looking for your child. I would be nervous to ask law enforcement after that to look for my child. I'd probably go through my neighborhood and say, "We need to get a coalition together to try to find my son, because if the police track him down, they might take him down and break his arm."
Yeah, exactly. And
You know?
probably the scariest part, other than what we saw, is I started receiving phone calls today that the cover up has already began. Well, I shouldn't say it already began. It began immediately. You hear them telling it over and over. Well, he was running. He should have stopped. They tell the firefighters. They tell Judah multiple times. They tell the parents. They're telling each other. They're saying this so many times, and they want everybody to believe it because they know it's a lie.
Well,
But
if you
today I'm
tell a lie
told
enough times, it becomes believable, right?
and enough people hear it. So, but I'm told now they gave a statement. I saw a news article. Judah's arm is bruised. He's got stuff all over his face. But they're already saying, basically they made that he resisted. They actually wrote a police report saying that he was resisting. So they're going to double, triple, and quadruple down instead of just stopping and saying, we screwed up.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't know who we were looking for. We would have chased every single child that we saw, because you'll hear officers later on say, well, we didn't even have a description. Then what the hell are you chasing the people? You don't even know who you're looking for. And if you
Yeah.
caught it at the very beginning, the mother said, I told you Armani was going to run out the back and you still didn't put anybody back there. So she knew he was going to run out of the back. So again, you have bad police tactics, you have bad police communication. And because of all that, a citizen is hurt. And so that when I talk about a culture, that's what I'm talking about. That these officers in their mind said it was okay to chase a missing child with a taser drawn while they're kneeling, grab them, throw them on the ground, and break their arm. Not one officer, but three different officers. And then they immediately go into justification mode. And that's what tells me there is a culture within inside Melbourne Police Department that makes them believe that this is okay.
Yeah, and he was a skinny little kid. It didn't take three guys to take that little kid down. He was a petite little thing, you know. My God, if I was mom, I would have been crying seeing that, you know.
Yeah, and if you go on Officer Markle's Facebook pages, every day he's showing pictures of him in, I don't know, swim trunks or boxers or something, flexing his muscles, trying to be all big and bad and tough. And then if you go back a little further, you'll see his cheerleading pictures. But this is a guy who's proud of his physique, kicking the living crap out of a 15-year-old.
Mm-hmm. Nice boy.
Yeah, he's a POS.
Yep, that's right, a POS. You know,
Yeah.
I was wondering about this too, you know, that culture that you're describing in the police department. It's really not merit based. I mean, when you guys go from cadet to officer and then do you guys move around and just share different duties like SWAT because it's another position to put somebody in, or does everybody just stay as an officer? Or, you know, how do you go from officer to sergeant or to lieutenant to sergeant? How does that step go?
It's basically promotional. Like I can talk about Palm Bay. You take a test. If you get in the top seven, the chief gets to pick from that top seven. That's it. If you're one of the highest seven scores on the sergeant or lieutenant's test, you go on a list, and the chief gets to pick his fan favorite, and that's how it works. And that's why it is. That's why I say it's not merit based. There, if as long as you get on that list of seven people, the chief gets to pick his best friend, and we saw that time and time again. Look at the Palm Bay Police Department. And I used to highlight, and people are like, well, they don't even have their comments turned on. It's because I continue to bash them. They were promoting white male SWAT people left and right. And during Black History Month, I kept saying, highlight your black lieutenants, because there are none. And we had great black officers, black sergeants that would have absolutely deserved to get promoted, but they weren't white and they weren't SWAT. And so when I talk about merit, or when I talk about loyalty over merit, that's what I'm talking about. All you had to do was be one of the seven smartest people in the agency for one day, get on a list, and the chief could pick his best friend. And he didn't have to justify it one bit.
Wow.
I mean, they just recently promoted, I think, three individuals, all white male SWAT.
You know, and that's funny that you say that because when I'm watching Rollins videos and, you know, seeing some of those sound bites, there's a lot of colored people, black people that he takes down and people that he feels are not worthy of society, like that, like they've had a previous record or they're poor, or, you know, like the one girl that he tried to get her out of her car and finally got her out of her car. I think her name was,
Tracy Lewis.
yes, Tracy Lewis, and she was so compliant, and he held her up for so long and tried to even get the passenger in her car to talk bad about her, you know, and to so he could search her vehicle and all that. And they ended up searching her vehicle instead of just letting her go like a normal traffic stop. So when you were describing all of that, I'm thinking, you know, there might be an issue there. where they look down on people or are a little bit racist because you're black. I'm not going to treat you any better, or I'm going to have assumptions about you so that I can make a stop and get more points for writing tickets and arrests. I don't know. It just seems like that.
Yeah, it's disheartening. When you look at Columbia, South Carolina, 7 out of 8 were black citizens. I think half of them female. But same thing you saw in Palm Bay, a consistent pattern. You saw it in Mascot. And so, and when we talk about Tamara Hatcher, she was actually wearing a Black Lives Matter t-shirt at the time. And remember, Rollins is, if you do a Google search, there's allegations that he was at the protest in Columbia, South Carolina, the Lives Matter protest, and he was beanbagging people as they were kneeling on the ground, per the reports. And so he absolutely preys on the weak, and we see that in law enforcement. Rollins preys on the weak and anybody that objects to his authority. That's what he does. And it's funny because I posted a short video 2 weeks ago from an airport, and I don't recall where it was at, but it's a professional fighter, and he's giving the cop a hard time. And that officer is super polite. He's backing up. He's doing everything he can not to get his ass handed to him. And I made a statement. Cops will remember their de-escalation training when they're about to get their asses kicked. And I believe that's a statement for Rollins. Anytime he believed he had the upper hand, he would mistreat you. But I guarantee, had he have met a UFC fighter, he would have been the nicest officer in the world.
Mm. And it's sad because, we have a lot of good officers out there, and it's officers like that leave a terrible impression on somebody's mind, and they share that with other people. And then, kind of like some parents have a really bad experience with one officer in their lifetime, and all officers are that way, and they might share it with their kids, and they might tell their kids, "Don't trust the popo because they're against you. They don't like you. You're poor," or whatever it is. They don't like the way you look, or they don't like your skin color. They will transfer that bad experience to their children or to a friend, and it makes the whole department look bad.
Yeah, and the other officers, I guarantee you that the rest of the Melbourne police officers do not like this video. I guarantee they're telling these guys, "You're idiots." Why would you do that? Because now, right, I'm doing videos. Everybody's doing videos. I'm starting to see memes now for Melbourne Police Department saying, "I'll break your arm, kid." I mean, so these officers now are going to be scrutinized, every single one of them, because of these three monsters that treated a kid like that. And so now all the Melbourne Police Department is now going to be under that microscope that no cop wants to be under. They don't want to be under microscopes. They're already wearing this body camera. Everybody's filming them already. Everything they do and say is being recorded. And now I guarantee Melbourne will absolutely be scrutinized by everybody. People are going to come all over this country pulling body camera from Melbourne Police Department now, looking for other incidents. I know, because I'm going to start tomorrow.
Mm. And there's flock cameras everywhere. So, uh, everybody needs to be careful these days, because everything's under surveillance now. Flock cameras. I have cameras on my cars now, and we've got all kinds of visual aids that help us record it now. So, people need to be on their best behavior, police and citizens.
Yes, agreed.
you know? But thank you for joining me tonight and sharing these videos. I really learned something today, and I've always thought about the, public records requests and how that works. And thank goodness you were there, because I don't think she would have got that better treatment than she got that day
And the
if you
reason I
weren't
was
there.
and the reason I was there is she reached out to me because Melbourne wasn't doing anything for her. They went into silent mode immediately. A matter of fact, she tells me that when she went to get her records, they called her and said the deputy chief would like for you. He's inviting you to come sit down and watch this body camera footage with him, because then she will understand why those officers did what they had to do. And so she had nobody to turn to, and local media won't take anything until the facts come out, which fortunately in her case, two's news agencies that day actually interviewed her while I was there, which I did appreciate. But yeah,
And the
It
sad thing is when you need an attorney, attorneys really aren't there to help people. They're just there to win cases and make money. So somebody who doesn't have a lot of money is, if the attorney doesn't think it's a winner for them or you can afford them, they're really not going to be taking the case, you know?
And a lot of them want that slam dunk. They want injury. They want that body camera footage. They just want a slam dunk. If they have to fight anything, it's not worth their time. They're not going to put
Mhm.
their money into it. And that's what I've learned as a retired deputy chief. I never, or as a citizen, I never knew that as a deputy chief. I never knew how hard it was for citizens to get justice. And I know that now because it took me over 2 years and to file my lawsuit. And so I now understand what it's like to be on the other side of the badge. And it is brutal. It is
It is
absolutely
because you have to
brutal.
come up with money. You know, they want a retainer, and the retainer is a large fee, and to just to defend yourself and to get justice. And it's
Mhm.
almost like it's an injustice because nobody can represent you unless you've got several $1,000s to put up front. And a lot of these families, single moms, uh, the economy's rough. Even Tamara was saying, these are hard times for us. We don't have the money. I know she was making excuses in there, but she was, just trying to like get forgiveness and get let go so she can go home to her 4 kids. And it
Yeah.
just escalated, and where is she gonna go now? She's has to get a public defender, and how good are the public defenders? I don't
Yeah.
know.
It's tough.
It is, it's very tough. So, this is really good stuff that you're doing and exposing, and thank goodness that you are, because Rollins is not working in Palm Bay anymore.
If nothing good came out of City Manager Morton berating me on January 8th, that's when I really pushed Thin Blue Lie Audits. The one good thing is that Rollins is no longer terrorizing the citizens of Palm Bay as a police officer.
And hopefully, the Palm Bay Police Department has gotten better at from that experience for interviewing and doing background checks and really looking into their officers so that they can start working on having a great team all around, because we love our blue. We stick up for them all the time. It's just those, bad apples that we've got to figure out how leadership can step up to the plate and say, "Look, you're not gonna defame my agency," you know? There's too many good officers here to have their reputations smeared.
Yeah, and I had a passing conversation with a sergeant a couple weeks ago, and he says officers are actually trying not to get into one of my videos. And I'm like,
That's
that's
good.
perfect. That's all I want. Change behavior. Because you know what? If in the back of their mind they're like, man, if I do this and this person complains to Lance, there's a good chance I'm going to be an MVP on Thin Blue Lie Audits. And
Yep, and you
if that works, I'm okay with that.
Yeah, yeah, nobody wants to be smeared, nobody wants to be exposed. So straighten it up, do your
Yes, ma'am.
job, and de-escalate, 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 de-escalate. And I know it's tough in today's day and age because we have all kinds of crazy personalities, but de-escalation is where it's at, and wait for the supervisor. Get the supervisor.
That's all you have to do.
All right, Lance. Well, we've had a great evening with you tonight, and I look forward to our next get together so we can talk about more things and people can get educated. I know I get educated every time.
Thank you, ma'am. I certainly appreciate you giving me a platform to speak on. Thank you.
Well, thank you for what you do. You have a good night.
You too, ma'am. Thank you.
Well, everybody, that was a great show. I really love learning from Lance Fisher myself. And, I love our blue, love our law enforcement officers, their families say goodbye and don't know if their husbands, fathers, mothers are coming home. And they deal, like I said, we have a lot of different personalities in today's day and age. And with inflation and hard times, it really has people on the edge. And some people can't pay their bills. Some people fall back on their car insurance. Things happen, but an officer's most important job is to know how to de escalate and handle that situation and let that citizen know that they're in a safe space, even if they have to be accountable for their actions. So remember that. Remember our blue. And don't forget, every Friday at 7 p.m., that's tomorrow at 7 p.m., I will be hosting the board report. And we have candidate for District 9, Thomas Chalifo. And he will be on tomorrow night. So join us so that you can meet him, type in your comments, questions, get to know the candidates because August is right around the corner and we are going to be voting from early primary voting is August 8th through the 18th, 8th through the 15th, and the election day for the primaries is August 18th. Also, go visit irc.net. That's Indian ircmedia.net. That's Indian River County Connections. That's our partners. We have To the Point Podcast. We have TGI Now and Binford Chronicles that you can reach there. Have a good evening.